72 hours ago, Earth's magnetic field spiked, not from a solar flare, not from a geomagnetic storm, from something passing us at 270 million kilometers out. And here's what should make you sit up. The spike happened at the exact second of closest approach, down to the minute. Precision timing that doesn't happen with rocks drifting through space. 3I Atlas, third interstellar object we've ever tracked, been watching it since July, documenting every weird thing it does. And it's been doing a lot of weird things, but December 19th, that was different, because this time Earth responded. Our planet felt something pass by at nearly 2 astronomical units. That's almost twice the distance to the sun. And our electromagnetic environment went, wait, what was that? So we've got electromagnetic coupling between Earth and a distant object, unexplained rotation change, geometric structure that inverts normal comet morphology, and in 3 months it reaches Jupiter. Close approach and optimal trajectory for a gravity-assisted doesn't actually need because it already has escape velocity, which raises a very simple question: why is it going to Jupiter at all? But before we get into what this object just did in the last 72 hours, the universe decided to show us 2 other things that it shouldn't exist. And I'm starting to think the timing isn't coincidental. European Space Agency's Euclid telescope, launched to map dark matter, study cosmic structure, build the most detailed 3D map of the universe we've ever attempted, routine deep field observation, processing the data, and there it is, asterisk, string of galaxies arranged in an arc that's way too perfect to be random. Not talking about gravitational lensing here. That's when a massive object bends light from background galaxies, creating arcs and Einstein rings. We know what that looks like. This isn't that these galaxies are actually aligned to physical arrangement across hundreds of millions of light years. Like someone laid out a garland across cosmic distance and hung galaxies on it at regular intervals. Think about the scale for a second. Each of these galaxies contains hundreds of billions of stars. The spaces between them span millions of light years, and the entire structure stretches across distances that light takes hundreds of millions of years to cross. And they're arranged geometrically, not clumped randomly, not scattered, organized, linear structured. Galaxy distribution at large scale should be random within the cosmic web framework. Sure, there's structure, dark matter filaments, galaxy clusters, voids, we've mapped that. But this level of organization, this precision and alignment, the statistics don't support it. You'd need to observe trillions of galaxy groupings to expect to see something this geometrically precise by pure chance. And we haven't observed trillions. We've barely scratched the surface of deep space surveys. So what could cause this dark matter filament running through that region, and galaxies just happen to form along it at suspiciously regular intervals? Maybe, but dark matter doesn't care about regular spacing. It clumps where it clumps based on primordial density fluctuations. Regular intervals would require something else, some forcing function, some organizing principle we don't have in the models. Primordial density waves from the Big Bang. Those exist, sure. Baryon acoustic oscillations show up in galaxy distribution, but those are statistical tendencies across enormous volumes. They're not precise. They don't create linear arrangements of individual galaxies. This garland is showing precision that density waves don't produce. Could just be projection effect. We're viewing a random 3-dimensional distribution from an angle that makes it look linear, except Euclid doesn't just take pictures, it measures distances. Spectroscopic redshifts confirm these galaxies are at similar distances from us. They're not just appearing to line up, they actually are lined up in 3-dimensional space. And here's the thing that's bugging people who work on large-scale structure. This isn't the first time there's the axis of evil in the cosmic microwave background, preferred axis and temperature fluctuations that shouldn't be there. There have been observations of galaxy spin alignments across megaparsec scales. There's the cold spot, there's the Eridanus supervoid alignment. Individually, each one can be explained away as statistical fluke, measurement error, selection bias. But they keep showing up organized structure where we expect randomness. Not saying the universe is designed, and not saying there's intent, but maybe, just maybe, Structure formation at cosmic scales involves processes we haven't fully understood yet, forces or fields or interactions that create organization beyond what gravity and dark matter alone predict. And if large-scale structure can show unexpected organization, what about smaller scales? Keep that thought because Saturn's about to get weird. Saturn, most recognizable planet in the solar system because of those rings, been studying them for centuries, got up close with Voyager in the 80s, spent over a decade with Cassini orbiting the planet, thought we understood ring dynamics pretty well. Particles orbiting, colliding, creating this beautiful disk structure governed by gravity and resonances with Saturn's moons. And they shouldn't exist at all, because rings aren't solid. They're billions of individual particles, each in its own orbit. Inner particles orbit faster than outer particles. That's just Kepler's laws. Anything radial should shear apart in minutes as the inner edge races ahead of the outer edge. These spokes lasted hours, plural. And they didn't shear. They maintained radial structure even though the ring particles they're made of are moving at different speeds. It's like taking a handful of sand, throwing it in the air, and watching it form a straight line that holds together while individual grains move at different velocities. Doesn't happen, can't happen, but there it is in the images. So the explanation became electromagnetic. These aren't gravitationally bound structures. They're charged dust particles, tiny grains that got hit by micrometeoroids or radiation, picked up an electric charge, and now they're responding to Saturn's magnetic field instead of just gravity. Field provides structure, keeps them organized even though they're orbiting at different speeds. Makes sense, explains the observations. Everyone moves on, except then the spokes disappeared, completely gone for years. Cassini arrives in 2004, and at first, no spokes. Nothing. Ring looks normal. But then 2005, they start appearing again, gradually, building in intensity. And we realize they're seasonal. Saturn's got a 29-year orbit. Axial tilt means the rings get illuminated at different angles throughout Saturn's year. And spoke activity peaks around equinox when the rings are edge-on to the sun. Saturn's equinox was 2009. Spokes were there, strong, exactly as predicted. Then, as Saturn moved past equinox, spokes faded, got weaker. By 2010, 2011, barely visible. Made sense. Fit the seasonal model. And the next equinox isn't until 2025, so we expected quiet rings until then. Maybe some faint spoke activity building as we approach the next equinox, but mostly dormant. That's not what's happening. Spoke activity is intensifying right now. December 2025. And we're past equinox. Hubble's been tracking them. Webb's getting infrared data showing temperature variations across the spokes. And the activity level is beyond what seasonal models predict. Something else is driving this. Saturn's magnetic field is one of the strangest in the solar system. It's almost a perfect dipole, perfectly aligned with the rotation axis. No other planet has that. Earth's magnetic field is tilted, wobbles. Jupiter's is tilted and complex. Uranus and Neptune are wildly tilted and offset. But Saturn, perfectly aligned, and nobody knows why. And here's what's interesting. Field strength measurements are showing variations that correlate with spoke activity. When spokes are more intense, field shows subtle fluctuations. When spokes are weak, field is more stable. There's coupling between ring particle behavior and magnetospheric conditions. And right now, both are showing increased activity beyond seasonal predictions. Look at the bigger picture for a second. Spoke activity peaking. Jupiter's auroral activity has been intensifying. We've got observations of unexpected brightness in the auroral zones. Solar maximum is ongoing. The sun's magnetic field is at peak complexity and strength. Electromagnetic environments across the solar system are showing coordinated changes. And into this electromagnetic soup comes 3I Atlas at closest approach to Earth. Schumann resonances. If you've never heard of them, they're electromagnetic standing waves in the cavity between Earth's surface and the ionosphere. Discovered in the 1950s, fundamental frequency is 7.83 Hz, incredibly stable. You can set your watch by it. Well, not literally, but it's been consistent for as long as we've been measuring it. Geological timescales doesn't change. There are harmonics. higher frequencies that resonate in the same cavity, typically around 14 Hz and 20 Hz. These fluctuate a bit based on lightning activity, solar wind conditions, but the fundamental frequency stays locked at 7.83. It's Earth's electromagnetic heartbeat, constant background hum of the planet's electrical system. December 19, 2025. Closest approach of 3i Atlas, monitoring stations around the world that track Schumann resonances. There are multiple stations, different countries, different equipment, all cross-checking each other, detected a strong sustained peak at 25 Hz, not a harmonic of 7.83, not fitting any standard resonance mode for Earth's cavity, just there, high amplitude, narrow frequency band, persisting for hours. Lightning creates spikes in Schumann data. Happens all the time. Global thunderstorm activity produces transient increases in electromagnetic noise, but those spikes are broadband. They're messy. They don't create clean, narrow peaks at specific frequencies, and they last seconds, maybe minutes, not hours. This 25 Hz signal was clean, defined, sustained. Solar wind events can affect Earth's magnetic field, and by extension, the ionosphere, which changes Schumann resonance characteristics. But there was no corresponding coronal mass ejection, no solar flare. Solar wind data from monitoring satellites showed normal conditions, nothing that would cause this kind of spike. Human-generated radio transmissions, 25 Hz is low frequency, not where most radio systems operate. And the signature was detected by stations in different locations, showing the same pattern. If it were localized interference, different stations would see different things, but they all saw the same 25 Hz peak at the same time. Tectonic activity can sometimes create electromagnetic precursors before earthquakes. There's documented evidence of that. But there were no significant earthquakes anywhere on Earth during this time window. No volcanic activity, no major tectonic events that would explain the signal. So run through the checklist. Lightning doesn't match the signature. Solar wind, no corresponding event. Human transmission, wrong frequency and pattern. Tectonic precursors, no earthquakes occurred. Every standard explanation eliminated. What remains? The timing. Peak amplitude of the 25 Hz signal coincided within minutes of 3i Atlas's closest approach, not hours before, not hours after, within the exact time window when the object was at minimum distance from Earth. Gradual onset as the object approached, sustained peak during closest approach, gradual decay as it receded. Correlation is exact, and the signal wasn't just a continuous tone, it showed structure. There was periodicity within it. Pulsing, not random fluctuation. Actual organized pulsing at regular intervals. And here's where it gets uncomfortable. Those pulse intervals appeared to correlate with changes in the object's behavior. We're going to get to what those changes were, but the correlation is there in the data. Earth's electromagnetic environment wasn't just reacting to the presence of the object, it was responding to something the object was doing. Electromagnetic coupling between a distant object and Earth's magnetosphere at 1.8 astronomical units. That's 270 million kilometers. Earth's magnetic field doesn't extend that far. Technically, it does. The magnetotail stretches millions of kilometers on the night side, but field strength drops off with distance. At 1.8 AU, there's essentially no direct field connection. So what's the mechanism? Unless the object itself is emitting or carrying something that can interact at that distance. Natural objects, comets, asteroids, don't have magnetic fields strong enough to affect Earth from that range. They're too small. Not enough internal structure to generate dynamo fields. Even if they're made of magnetic material, it's passive magnetism, not active field generation. So either we're missing something about how electromagnetic interactions work at solar system scales, or this object isn't purely passive. No established mechanism in geophysics for a small object at 1.8 AU, causing a sustained structured electromagnetic resonance spike in Earth's ionospheric cavity. And before anyone says maybe it's coincidence, maybe Earth just happened to spike at the same time for unrelated reasons. The probability of that is astronomical, pun intended. You're talking about a one-time signal at an unusual frequency occurring during a precise time window. Random chance doesn't produce that. Earth responded. And that response implies interaction. Interaction implies the object is emitting or carrying something that can couple with Earth's electromagnetic environment from 270 million kilometers away. And that's where the comfortable explanations run out. Rotation period. Multiple observatories had been tracking 3I Atlas's light curve for weeks before closest approach. Brightness variations as the object rotates, one side slightly brighter than the other, creates a periodic signal. Measure the period, and you've got the rotation rate, 16.16 hours, confirmed by multiple independent observers, stable across weeks of observation, no variation, no wobble, locked in. Closest approach happens. Post-flyby observations start coming in. And the rotation period has changed. 15.48 hours. Net change of 41 minutes. Occurred within a time frame of hours, not days, not weeks. Rapid change in angular momentum. And here's why that's a problem. Angular momentum is conserved. Objects don't just start spinning faster without something applying torque. Comets can change their rotation through outgassing. The rocket effect. When ice sublimates on one side of the nucleus, gas jets off asymmetrically, creates thrust. That thrust can apply torque if it's not aligned with the rotation axis. Spin the object up or slow it down. We've measured this on other comets. It's real physics, but it requires significant gas release, tons of material venting into space. And that much outgassing creates optical signatures, brightness flare from increased surface activity. Massive expansion of the coma as all that gas spreads out. Asymmetric jets visible in imaging showing where the gas is coming from. And for a rotation change this large, 41 minutes, you'd need an absolutely massive outgassing event, something that would be impossible to miss. Like a comet having a violent explosion, and none of that appeared. Object's brightness remained stable. Coma didn't explode outward. No jets visible in high-resolution imaging. Structural integrity is another issue. Faster rotation means increased centrifugal force. Material on the surface wants to fly off into space. Small bodies like comets and asteroids are typically rubble piles, loosely bound collections of rock and ice, held together by weak gravity. You spin them up too fast, and they fragment. Shed material. Create debris clouds. We've seen this happen. We've watched small bodies tear themselves apart from rotation. 3I Atlas didn't fragment, didn't shed visible debris, didn't create a chaotic cloud of material spreading out from the nucleus. It remained geometrically stable, coherent, intact, while simultaneously spinning up by 41 minutes, which means either it's got structural strength we don't expect, solid body instead of rubble pile, or the spin-up didn't come from internal outgassing forces. Timing is the other problem. If this were thermally driven outgassing, it should have happened at perihelion, closest approach to the sun, maximum solar heating, maximum ice sublimation, and that's when you'd expect a rotation change from the rocket effect. But perihelion for 3I Atlas was back at a different point in its trajectory. Closest approach to Earth isn't perihelion. There's no reason for thermal maximum to occur during Earth flyby specifically, so you've got rotation change at Earth flyby, not at Sun perihelion. No optical signature of massive outgassing. No fragmentation despite increased spin. An exact timing correlation with the Schumann resonance spike. These things happen together, at the same moment, not separately. Each one is weird. Together, they're a pattern. Calculate the energy required to change rotational kinetic energy by this amount. You need to know the object's mass and size. Estimates put it at a few kilometers across. Mass probably in the billions of tons range. Typical for small interstellar objects. Run the numbers, and the energy required to spin it up 41 minutes is substantial. Where did that energy come from? Not from solar heating, wrong timing, not from gravitational interaction with Earth. Gravity doesn't apply torque like that. Not from outgassing, no optical signature. So what's left? External torque from electromagnetic interaction. That requires the object to have magnetic properties or to be carrying charge. And it requires Earth's magnetic field to be strong enough at that distance to apply significant force. Neither of those are established facts. They're implications from the observation. Alternative explanations. Maybe the object underwent internal collapse, mass redistributing inward, like a figure skater pulling in their arms. Conservation of angular momentum means if radius decreases, rotation rate increases, but internal collapse should create irregularities. The object should become non-spherical. Light curve should show increased amplitude as shape becomes more elongated. Didn't happen. Rotation stayed clean, no increased wobble. Impact events, small asteroid or debris hitting 3I Atlas and transferring momentum, possible. but impacts typically create fragmentation signatures. You'd see debris. You'd see brightness spike from the impact flash, and the odds of an impact occurring at the exact moment of Earth's closest approach are vanishingly small. Coincidence doesn't hold up under scrutiny. Each explanation requires components we haven't confirmed or probabilities that don't make sense. And meanwhile, the object is continuing outbound, still spinning at the new faster rate, stable, coherent. And as rotation increased, something else happened. The ring brightened, high-resolution imaging, multiple telescopes across different continents, different apertures, different optical designs, all pointed at 3I Atlas during and after closest approach. Image processing completed over the last 72 hours. Composite data from all these sources, and when you stack it all together and enhance the faint details, there it is. Central dark region. Not dim, not faint. Dark, surrounded by a sharp, geometrically defined luminous ring. Every comet we've ever imaged shows the same basic structure, bright central nucleus where the solid ice and rock is located. Surrounding coma that gradually fades with distance. Brightest point is always the nucleus because that's the source. Sunlight hits the solid material, reflects back. That's what we're seeing. Coma is fainter because it's diffuse gas and dust spreading out. 3I Atlas is inverted, center is dark, edge is bright, complete reversal of normal comet morphology. And this isn't subtle. It's not like if you enhance it just right and squint, you can maybe see something. It's obvious in the processed images. Dark circular core, surrounding ring with sharp inner and outer boundaries, clear geometric structure. Stability is another factor. That dark core is perfectly centered, not offset, not wobbling around, precisely at the center of the ring structure. And it stays centered across multiple observations taken hours apart. If this were some temporary effect, some viewing angle artifact, some shadow from complex geometry, you'd expect variation. The structure would shift, change. The shadow would move as the object rotates. But it doesn't. It's stable, consistent, locked. Ring itself shows characteristics that don't match normal coma behavior. It's not spreading. Gas and dust in a comet coma expand outward, get fainter with distance, disperse. But this ring maintains defined boundaries. Inner edge and outer edge are both sharp, like there's a structure maintaining the geometry. And brightness distribution isn't uniform. There are variations, slightly brighter regions, fainter regions, but the overall ring shape holds. Conservative explanations first. Maybe it's shadowing. Maybe the nucleus has a weird dumbbell shape or contact binary configuration. Two lobes stuck together, and we're viewing it from an angle where one lobe shadows the other. Creates dark center appearance. Possible. Except shadows move as the object rotates and our viewing angle changes. Shadows shift, and we've got observations over multiple rotation periods now. Structure doesn't shift, doesn't change, stays centered and symmetric. Dust jets obscuring the center. Maybe there are active regions around the equator of the nucleus. Jets of gas carrying dust, and those jets are blocking our view of the actual nucleus at the center, creating apparent darkness. But jets disperse. They fan out. They don't maintain coherent blocking geometry. And jets are time variable. They turn on and off as active regions rotate in and out of sunlight. We should see brightness variations. We don't. The dark core is constant. Contact binary viewed end on, two lobes. And we're looking right down the axis where they connect. Okay. But contact binaries typically wobble. Their rotation isn't perfectly stable. You get precession. Variation in the light curve amplitude. This object's rotation is clean, regular, no wobble signature, and the ring surrounding it is too geometric for just random outgassing from a contact binary. Viewing angle artifact? Maybe from certain angles the structure appears dark center, bright ring. From other angles it looks different, except we've got observations from different Earth positions. As our planet moves through its orbit, slight changes in viewing geometry, and the structure persists. Same appearance from different angles. That rules out simple projection effects, so run through it. Shadowing doesn't match stability. Dust obscuration doesn't match constancy. Contact binary doesn't match symmetry. Viewing angle doesn't match persistence across different observing geometries. What's left? The structure is real, it's physical. There's actually a dark central region and a luminous ring, and that geometry doesn't match how comets work. Hollow hypothesis. What if the center is actually void? What if this object has a shell structure? Hollow interior. Material concentrated in an outer layer. Ice and rock forming a shell instead of a solid mass. Natural formation processes don't typically produce hollow bodies. Gravity pulls material inward during formation, creates solid cores, rubble pile if it's a collision fragment, but not hollow spheres. Artificial structures can be hollow. Spacecraft are hollow. Satellites are hollow. You build a shell because it's structurally efficient, encloses volume without filling it with mass, reduces weight, and if this object has a hollow structure, that changes everything. Reduced mass, for given size, density drops, becomes much more susceptible to non-gravitational forces, explains why trajectory is sensitive to perturbations, explains why it might respond to electromagnetic interactions differently than solid objects. But there's no confirmation of hollowness. We don't have seismic data. We can't measure internal structure. The dark core could be some other phenomenon we haven't thought of. So this remains speculation, hypothesis, not conclusion, but the observations push toward it. Dark center, bright edge, stable geometry, increased brightness at the rim as rotation increased, like energy is being released from the perimeter rather than the center. Ring luminosity pattern shows correlation with spin rate. As rotation increased to 15.48 hours, ring brightness increased, not by a little, by a measurable amount. Photometric analysis shows the ring is emitting more light per unit time after the spin-up. So faster rotation equals brighter emission. Direct relationship. And that's backwards from normal comet behavior. Normal comets, brightness is driven by solar heating. Sun heats the ice. Ice sublimates. Brightness increases. Rotation is passive. It might affect where jets point, but it doesn't drive the activity level. Activity drives rotation change, not the other way around. But here we've got rotation apparently driving emission. Faster spin produces more light. Causal relationship is inverted. Spectroscopy shows the molecules in the ring are normal comet stuff. CN radicals, C2 carbon chains, water vapor, same chemicals we see in every other comet. So composition isn't exotic, but distribution is wrong. That material is concentrated at the ring, emanating from the perimeter, not from a central nucleus point source. Gas appears to originate from the edge rather than the center, and that makes no sense if there's a solid ice nucleus at the core. Three components that don't fit together in natural comet frameworks: dark stable central void, sharp geometric ring with defined boundaries, correlation between rotation rate and emission intensity. Together, these suggest organization, structure, control, behavior. Natural objects are messy, chaotic, irregular, erosion, fracturing, random outgassing. None of that describes what we're seeing here. This is geometric, stable, responsive, and it's heading to Jupiter. Post-Earth trajectory has been calculated. Orbital mechanics are precise. You measure position and velocity, account for gravitational influences from sun and planets, calculate future path. Done this a million times with spacecraft. It works. And the trajectory for 3I Atlas resolves toward Jupiter. Closest approach March 16th, 2026. Distance of 53 million kilometers above the cloud tops. 53 million kilometers. That's well within Jupiter's gravitational sphere of influence. Close enough for significant trajectory bending. Close enough for velocity change. This is gravity assist range. We use Jupiter for spacecraft missions all the time. Voyager, Galileo, Cassini, New Horizons. All of them flew past Jupiter to get velocity boost for outer solar system missions. It's standard orbital mechanics. It works because you're stealing momentum from Jupiter's orbital motion around the Sun. But here's the thing that's bothering orbital dynamics people. 3I Atlas already has escape velocity. It's on a hyperbolic orbit, not bound to the solar system. It's leaving whether it encounters Jupiter or not. It doesn't need a gravity assist to escape. It's already going fast enough. So the Jupiter encounter isn't necessary for departure, which raises the question, why is it going there? Random trajectory? Just happens to pass near Jupiter on its way out? Space is big. Odds of randomly passing that close to a specific planet are low. Not impossible, but low. And when you calculate the encounter geometry, it's not just near Jupiter. It's optimal geometry. Approach angle is set up for maximum gravitational interaction. Altitude above cloud tops is deep enough into the gravity well for significant bending, but high enough to avoid atmospheric drag if there were any. Trajectory is aligned with Jupiter's equatorial plane. maximizes interaction with the planet's rotation and magnetic field. This is textbook gravity assist geometry. You spend years planning these trajectories for spacecraft missions, adjusting launch windows, calculating approach vectors, optimizing altitude and velocity, getting everything aligned just right to steal maximum energy from the planet's motion. It's not something that happens by accident. You have to aim for it, and 3i Atlas's trajectory fits that optimal geometry, like it was designed for it. Post-Jupiter trajectory projects outward at increased velocity. Exact numbers depend on the close approach distance and velocity vector, but preliminary calculations suggest it'll exit the solar system faster than it came in, which is what gravity assists do. Boost your speed. Change your direction. Send you on your way with more kinetic energy than you had before. Efficient, elegant, requires no fuel, just precise navigation. Jupiter's magnetic field is the strongest in the solar system, extends millions of kilometers into space, creates this massive magnetosphere filled with charged particles, radiation belts that would fry unshielded electronics, plasma environment that's incredibly complex and energetic. Juno spacecraft is still studying it, still finding surprises. It's not a simple dipole like Earth's field. It's got complex structure, current sheets, plasma interactions with the moons. If 3i Atlas responded to Earth's relatively weak magnetic field at 1.8 AU, what happens when it plunges into Jupiter's magnetosphere at close range? Jupiter's field is orders of magnitude stronger. Plasma environment is orders of magnitude more energetic. If there's any electromagnetic coupling, any interaction beyond pure gravity, Jupiter is where we'll see it amplified. Obvious, unavoidable. 3 months until encounter. Observation window is wide open. Every major telescope that can point at it will be watching. James Webb's got observation time scheduled. Hubble will be tracking it. Ground-based observatories around the world coordinating for continuous coverage. Radio telescopes listening for any emissions. X-ray observatories monitoring for high-energy signatures. This will be the most comprehensively observed interstellar object encounter in history. Test is simple. If it's a natural object, trajectory will match gravitational predictions perfectly. You plug in the masses, distances, velocities. Newton's laws tell you exactly where it goes. Orbital mechanics are deterministic. If it's just rock and ice responding only to gravity, we'll predict its post-Jupiter path, and it'll follow that path. No surprises. Pure physics. If it's something else, if there's any capability for course adjustment, any response to electromagnetic environment, any behavior that isn't purely gravitational, we'll see deviation. Trajectory won't match predictions. There'll be some change, some anomaly, some indication that forces beyond gravity are acting on this object. And once is anomaly, twice is pattern. If it course corrects at Jupiter after the apparent course behavior at Earth, that's not coincidence anymore. Post-Jupiter, assuming purely gravitational trajectory for now, it continues outward, past Saturn in the late 2020s, Uranus and Neptune in the 2030s, Kuiper Belt region where sunlight is faint and temperatures drop to just above absolute zero, and eventually 2030s or 2040s it crosses the heliopause, boundary where solar wind stops and interstellar medium begins. Voyager 1 crossed in 2012, Voyager 2 in 2018. 3i Atlas will be moving faster, might get there sooner, and then it's gone. Back into the dark, wherever it came from, whatever journey it's been on. 5 years to watch, 5 years to gather data, 5 years to figure out what this thing actually is. Whether it's the strangest natural object we've ever encountered or something else entirely. March 16th is the critical test. 3 months away, and we'll have our answer. 3 things. Galaxy garland showing geometric organization at cosmic scales. Saturn's spokes showing electromagnetic structure maintaining coherence against orbital shear. 3i Atlas showing stable geometric morphology with electromagnetic coupling to Earth and rotation-emission correlation. Unrelated phenomena, random coincidence, or pattern, common thread is organization, structure where we expect randomness. Galaxies arranged linearly across hundreds of millions of light years. Ring particles maintaining radial features despite differential rotation. Interstellar object displaying geometric core ring structure with stable orientation. Different scales. Cosmic to planetary to object scale. Same theme. Order. Electromagnetic thread runs through 2 of 3. Saturn spokes are explicitly electromagnetic phenomenon. Charged dust responding to magnetic field. 3I Atlas triggered electromagnetic response in Earth's ionosphere. Showed correlation between rotation and emission, suggesting energy coupling. If the object passes through Jupiter's intense magnetosphere and shows response, that's 3 for 3 on electromagnetic involvement. Timing convergence. Saturn spoke intensity increasing beyond seasonal predictions right now. December 2025. 3I Atlas flyby December 19th. Solar maximum ongoing with peak magnetic complexity. Planetary configuration shifts into rare alignment pattern. January 2026. Not saying these are causally connected, not claiming one causes the other, but they're clustering in time. Multiple unusual phenomena occurring in the same time frame. Mainstream position is these are separate, unrelated observations. Galaxy structures, cosmology, Saturn spokes, planetary science, 3I Atlas, small body dynamics, different fields, different processes, no causal connection. Sample size is small. Unusual things happen. We're just noticing them because we're looking. Confirmation bias. Pattern recognition in noise. And that's probably the right position. Scientifically conservative. Doesn't make unwarranted connections. But pattern recognition is also how we find new physics. How we discover connections that weren't obvious. Electromagnetic unification happened because people noticed patterns between electricity and magnetism. General relativity happened because Einstein noticed patterns in how gravity and acceleration behave. Sometimes patterns are real. Sometimes they point to underlying connections we haven't formalized yet. What if structure formation at all scales involves processes we haven't fully characterized? Dark matter provides gravitational scaffolding for large-scale structure. We've got that. But maybe there are electromagnetic or plasma effects at cosmic scales that create finer organization within that scaffolding. Galaxy filaments might carry currents. Magnetic fields might channel formation in ways we don't model. And at planetary scales, we know electromagnetic forces create structure. Saturn spokes prove it. Magnetospheres organize plasma, create auroral zones, maintain radiation belts, small body scale. If 3I Atlas is responding electromagnetically, if rotation and emission are coupled, if structure is maintained by something beyond just gravity and ice sublimation, maybe small bodies can be influenced by electromagnetic environments they pass through. Maybe interstellar space isn't empty enough to prevent charge accumulation. Cosmic rays hit objects, solar wind when they enter stellar systems, plasma interactions. And if objects accumulate charge or develop magnetic properties through their journey, they become responsive to fields, not proof, not established theory, just extrapolation from observations. Taking what we see and asking what physical framework could explain all of it together, rather than treating each as separate phenomenon. And the framework that emerges involves electromagnetic effects playing larger roles than currently modeled at multiple scales. Data is solid. Galaxy arrangement verified by spectroscopic distance measurements. Saturn spokes documented across decades of observations. 3I Atlas electromagnetic and rotation data confirmed by multiple instruments. These are facts, documented, real. Interpretation is where speculation lives. And interpretation right now says, either we're seeing unrelated coincidences or we're seeing edges of physics that current models don't fully capture. March 16th answers part of this. If 3I Atlas behaves purely gravitationally at Jupiter, that constrains interpretation. Suggests electromagnetic stuff at Earth was coincidence or misinterpretation. And if it shows any response beyond gravity, any trajectory anomaly, any emission change correlated with magnetospheric passage that opens doors, suggests there are interaction mechanisms we need to model. When universe is showing us organized structure at cosmic scales, electromagnetic structure at planetary scales, geometric structure with possible electromagnetic coupling at object scale. Either 3 unrelated observations or early signals of phenomena we're just beginning to characterize. Time will tell. Data accumulates. Observations continue. 72 hours post-flyby. Here's what we know for certain. Earth's electromagnetic field spiked at 25 Hz during closest approach of 3I Atlas, verified by multiple monitoring stations, timed precisely with the flyby. No standard explanation fits. 3I Atlas rotation period changed from 1616 to 1548 hours. 41-minute acceleration. No optical signature of massive outgassing. Object remains structurally intact. High-resolution imaging reveals dark central core surrounded by luminous geometric ring, stable across multiple observations. Brightness of ring correlates with rotation rate. Faster spin equals more emission. Spectroscopy shows normal comet molecules, but distribution is wrong, emanating from perimeter, not center. Structure doesn't match natural comet morphology. Trajectory calculated. Next encounter Jupiter, March 16, 2026. 53 million kilometers above cloud tops. Optimal geometry for gravity assist, despite object already having escape velocity. Encounter will test whether behavior is purely gravitational or involves additional forces. Comprehensive observation campaign planned. Every major telescope watching. What remains speculation. Causal mechanism for electromagnetic coupling unknown. Hollow structure hypothesis unconfirmed. Electromagnetic interaction at Jupiter anticipated but not proven. Artificial origin remains hypothesis without evidence. These are interpretations, not conclusions. Data is verified. Meaning is debated. 3-month window until Jupiter. Every clear night brings new observations. Rotation stability monitoring continues. Ring brightness tracking ongoing. Any structural evolution being documented. Spectroscopic follow-up scheduled to characterize composition in more detail. Trajectory refinement improves predictions for encounter geometry. Binary outcome at Jupiter. If trajectory matches gravitational predictions perfectly, suggests electromagnetic observations at Earth were coincidence or involve mechanisms that don't affect trajectory. Constrains interpretations toward natural explanations. If any deviation appears, any course adjustment, any response beyond pure gravity, that's signal. Pattern established. Twice isn't coincidence. Bigger questions remain open. Galaxy garland showing unexpected organization. Saturn spokes intensifying beyond models. 3I Atlas displaying geometric structure with electromagnetic signatures. Connected or coincidence? Physics were missing or observations were overinterpreting. March helps answer part of it. Rest requires more data, more observations, longer baselines. What Jupiter tests specifically, trajectory deviation measurement will be precise. Modern astrometry gets position accuracy down to milliarc seconds. Any course change will be detected. Electromagnetic response if object passes through magnetosphere. Emission changes correlated with plasma environment. Rotation stability under strong gravitational gradient. Structural integrity if tidal forces stress the object. And communication. If there are any signals, any emissions, any structured outputs, Jupiter encounter is when we'd expect them. Maximum interaction, maximum energy available. Natural or not, March 16, 2026 provides data. Either confirms this is exotic natural object with properties we haven't seen before, teaches us that interstellar space produces behaviors we don't have in our models, expands understanding of small body physics, or it demonstrates capabilities that natural objects don't have, shows intentional navigation, controlled response to environment, and that changes everything. 5 years of visibility remaining. Object won't fade from view until it's well into outer solar system, Kuiper Belt region. Tracking continues beyond Jupiter. Saturn encounter after that. Each planet it passes provides another data point, another test. Trajectory at each encounter either matches predictions or doesn't. Pattern either establishes or breaks. Every observation adds to data set. Rotation monitoring over months and years shows if spin rate remains stable or changes further. Structure observations track if dark core and ring geometry evolves or stays fixed. Spectroscopy follows composition changes as solar distance increases and temperature drops. Activity level tracking shows if a mission continues or fades as it moves away from Sun. The data doesn't lie. 25 Hz spike happened. Rotation change happened. Dark core structure exists. Jupiter trajectory is real. All verified, documented, confirmed by multiple sources. What these mean is the interpretation challenge. Physics we know or physics we're learning. Natural or something else. March gives us critical data point. Universe handed us something we can't fully explain yet. Third interstellar object behaving in ways that don't fit established models, showing electromagnetic coupling, geometric structure, rotation anomalies, and heading toward the solar system's most intense electromagnetic environment on a trajectory that looks optimized for gravitational interaction. Whether that's coincidence or intent, we're about to find out. 72 days until Jupiter encounter. Every major observatory coordinating observation schedules. Every wavelength from radio to X-ray being monitored. This is the most anticipated small body encounter since New Horizons past Arakoth. Except we didn't build 3i Atlas, didn't launch it, didn't plan its trajectory. It came from outside, it's doing its own thing, and we're just watching. March 16th. Trajectory either matches predictions or it doesn't. Electromagnetic response either appears or it doesn't. Structure either stays stable or it changes. Binary outcomes, clear tests, definitive data. And then we'll know one way or another what we're actually looking at. Strangest natural object in the catalog or first confirmed interstellar artifact. 3 months to wait. And the universe isn't done showing us weird things while we wait. The pattern is there. Organization at cosmic scales. Electromagnetic structure at planetary scales. Geometric object scale behavior with possible electromagnetic coupling. Either separate coincidences or connected phenomena pointing toward physics we're still characterizing. Time tells. Data accumulates. March provides critical test. We're watching. Every clear night, every available instrument, every wavelength we can detect, because whatever 3i Atlas is, wherever it came from, whatever it's doing, it's happening right now, in real time, and we're not looking away, can't look away. This is too strange, too organized, too precisely timed to ignore. March 16th, Jupiter encounter, final test before it heads into the outer darkness, and we'll have our answer.